Well, this is a very telling moment.
Donald Trump was on Joe Rogan, and he called you, Madam Vice President, a very low IQ person, and said, I think she needs to take a cognitive test. I think Kamala should have a test because there's something missing, there's something wrong with her.
Yeah, it might take her a while to answer that question, as, of course, the mainstream media is, of course, putting the fix in right now with some very dangerous, hyperbolic language that is meant to sow division and chaos in our modern-day society. There's a comedian that they're trying to cancel once again, as, of course, the jesters are the prime targets of a lot of insecure despots that want to, of course, control their grip of power and not have people laugh. As I'm going to make the argument that Tony Hinchcliffe did nothing wrong, and there's a factual basis behind his comedic humor. All of this, as it's fair to say, the establishment is scrambling and freaking out, trying to attack a major big PR stunt by Donald Trump that, of course, didn't go to swing states, but decided to go to the Democratic stronghold of New York and give a speech at one of the biggest, most prominent, important venues in all of the United States, Madison Square Garden, where a jam-packed house came in to listen to his comments as thousands of people even rallied outside because they couldn't get in. As we are only 9 days from the election, and it's fair to say, corporate media and the establishment really didn't like this major move, as the event was 5 hours long and jam-packed with a lot of very prominent individuals from, of course, Dr. Phil, Hulk Hogan, Dana White, Tucker Carlson, that addressed the 20,000 plus capacity arena crowd, with the New York Post describing this new coalition as the, quote, Maga Avengers, going on and saying that they gathered to back their Captain America at MSG. And truly, this larger kind of political realignment and alliance between anti-establishment figures like Tulsi Gabbard, RFK Jr., Vivek Ramaswamy really does highlight a larger changing of the tide in an ever so corrupted, despotic political system that, of course, is usually bought off by the super rich. As one foreign-born American let her ideas be known to the crowd, as this video right now is going viral all over social media from the event.
Chinese first generation, we love Trump from our bottom of the heart because we know Trump is the only one can save America. Kamala is so stupid. She is so low. IQ equal no Q, no qualification to be the president. You shall stay away from that position. You are the low.
But how do you really feel, lady? As, of course, she absolutely didn't hold anything back, as there was a lot of different people from a lot of different cultures coming together in New York City, the larger melting pot of America, for this particular rally. Something that MSNBC decided to describe as a rally from the 1930s Germans who carried out a larger eugenics operation. Yes, you heard that correctly. MSNBC has edited in and spliced in images from a 1930s German rally inside of MSG to make it appear like it was a part of Donald Trump's rally. This clip here, truly just absolutely delusional, as their news report of this entire situation just highlights the absurdity of their thinking and how they just absolutely lost the plot. Here's the clip, and be warned, it is just as deranged and delusional as you think it would be.
But that jamboree happening right now, you see it there on your screen, in that place is particularly chilling because in 1939, more than 20,000 supporters of a different fascist leader, Adolf Hitler, packed the garden for a so-called pro-America rally, a rally where speakers voiced anti-Semitic rhetoric from a stage draped with banners. When a Jewish protester rushed the stage, the Associated Press reported, quote, instantly, a dozen or more stormtroopers set upon him, knocking him down and beating him as he held his head in his arms. Most of his clothing was torn from his body. Later, he was booked for disorderly conduct. Now, against that backdrop of history, Donald Trump, the man who has threatened to use the military against opponents he calls enemies from within, who has threatened to use the troops to quell what he says are lawless cities and to use those troops to carry out mass deportations of immigrants, is once again turning Madison Square Garden into a staging ground for extremism.
What? Are you kidding me? How intellectually dishonest, how hyperbolic, how sensationalistic. It's almost as if they're trying to galvanize as much fear as possible, as of course they will be using that, trying to galvanize their support for the establishment candidate that has arrested her political opponents and gone after them through, of course, the Department of Justice. Now, sadly, to MSNBC, there were no Jewish people that were assaulted and then arrested at this 1930s German-linked rally. Quite the opposite of that. There was Jewish people seen celebrating, singing, or wearing red MAGA hats, and of course also celebrating their religion. A little off of a depiction of what's going on here, as of course MSNBC wasn't the only one reading these canned, insane lines, as of course there was multiple media organizations in unison saying almost the same exact thing almost at the same time, as Sky News has this article saying, was Donald Trump's Madison Square Garden rally an evocation of the Germans in the 1930s? Yeah, again, what? Tim Walz, the vice president pick for Kamala Harris, also came out and compared Trump's rally to the Germans in the 1930s, declaring it more offensive than any joke. Again, what? The intelligentsia in New York Mag came out and said conservatives have set the bar as not as bad as the German 1930 leader. What are you talking about? The New Republic, Trump's Madison Square Garden event was a full 1930s rally. Are you kidding me? I am not, as of course Batya Ugur-Sargon came out and said that the 1930s German leader killed her family and that she is personally disgusted by a party that would cheapen those horrors in such a way, especially with the, quote, rampant anti-Semitism on the left. This as Donald Trump has even proposed policies that would kick people out that would hate or discriminate specifically on Jewish people. So yeah, the context there and correlation don't really make sense at all. And if you look at the establishment, if you look at the corporate media, if you look at Hollywood, it hasn't been more popular than ever to specifically attack Donald Trump in very kind of vicious, underhanded ways. He was prosecuted, he was charged, he was arrested, he was fined, he was slandered. He's being attacked by almost everyone in the entertainment industry, as there's government officials that are literally signing off on anti-Trump poop sculptures being erected around the National Mall. The left routinely highlights and celebrates violence against him and his supporters as they try to obfuscate it in many different ways, but can't even hide their joy when it comes to real-life events that actually are very detrimental and hurtful. As Elon Musk decided to tweet this today, specifically saying, if he's the German 1930 leader, why didn't the German 1930 things happen in his first term? Highlighting a duck that is quacking and going after, or a geese, a Harris supporter, as the geese keeps asking, why didn't he do the 1930s things before? Great question. As Elon Musk is asking too many questions and getting too involved, and also facing the full might of the intelligentsia, the deep state, and of course the regulatory bodies in this country that are going after him, as he is now being officially sued by the Philadelphia district attorney that is trying to stop him giving a $1 million lottery to voters that sign his pledge to protect the American Constitution. As of course, using the full legal ramifications of the state is something that, you know, those guys in the 1930s in Germany did. As even the president of the United States is attacking Elon Musk because of his larger kind of political differences, as clearly the state cannot accept challenges to its authority, as it is acting less and less democratic by the day, as it is literally trying to accuse its opponents of doing the same when they're not even in power. And again, the language here, so out of touch with reality, so inconsistent, so illogical, so low IQ. But again, time and time again, they keep spreading a lot of the disinformation, a lot of the hate news, a lot of the conjecture here. The Financial Times just wrote an article, Donald Trump's Madison Square Garden rally overshadowed by racism accusations. No, it's not. No, I don't know about you, but people are reacting like, hey, the corporate media is losing their ish and overwhelmingly saying, holy cow, the guy jam-packed Madison Square Garden in the middle of a liberal democratic woke city. There was thousands of people outside waiting to go in that couldn't go in just to hear him speak. The New York Times has another delusional article. Trump at the Garden, a closing carnival of grievances, misogyny, and racism. What? What are you talking about? Axios. MAGA speaker unleashes ugly rhetoric at Trump rally. We'll get to the ugly rhetoric in a little bit and tell you why it's a little bit ridiculous. Politico. Trump's New York homecoming sparks backlash over racist and vulgar remarks. We'll get into those in just a few seconds, as CNN, of course, has another hyperbolic argument here describing how Trump unveils the most extreme closing arguments in modern presidential history. And again, they're going back to this old article from John Kelly and other anonymous sources that allegedly connect to this. And of course, the Kamala Harris campaign and her herself are regurgitating a lot of these lies, as there's even some people on the left, including the mayor of New York City, that are saying, hey, can you tone down the rhetoric here? It's kind of a little too heated, to say the least here. As of course, this type of rhetoric serves one particular purpose, and that is, of course, to create fear in the American public so they do not vote for Donald J. Trump. But also, it's a dangerous gambit because it could backfire on them, because people see it just how ridiculous this is, as there's people from all different walks of life, all different cultures participating in these larger events, and they have nothing to do with anything that the out-of-touch corporate media are saying they have to do with. And that's why independent media is more important than ever to call out these lies, as the corporate media is literally losing their ish over a joke. Before getting into that joke, we wanted to remind people to sign up to lookunfiltered.com. If you haven't done this, what are you doing? If you thought about joining, now's the time to do it. We need your support more than ever. Sign up, and I am going to be shooting exclusive videos later on today just for members, with everything that's happening behind the scenes of my health and larger kind of wellness hacks, as well as some deeper kind of deep down the rabbit hole information that you will only get on lukeuNfiltered.com. So if you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe right now, and we will see you particularly right after this broadcast. As members also get the ability to call in to our live show, as we're going to have a jam-packed week of shows here, all on lukeuNfiltered.com. You could get the ability to talk to our entire audience just by simply signing up to lookunfiltered.com. First-time callers also get free products like our magnesium glycinate that you could exclusively get on wearechange.shop, all just by simply signing up to lookunfiltered.com and then calling in to our show. We hope to, of course, have you guys participate in the conversation, as the conversation truly is just absolutely ridiculous right now. And it's important to kind of unwind this ridiculousness, as Tony Hinchcliffe, a comedian that is based predominantly from Austin, Texas, and is known as kind of this larger shock jock, made a joke comparing a huge island filled of garbage to Puerto Rico. It was a sort of funny joke, but it was mainly a joke. It was meant to, of course, make people laugh. It wasn't meant to, of course, be hurtful, but this is the joke that the corporate media is talking about that triggered them. A joke that, yeah, it's a little ridiculous, as Tony Hinchcliffe just went on social media to describe how AOC's reaction to all of this with Tim Walz shows that they, quote, have no sense of humor. Going on and saying, quote, wild that a vice presidential candidate would take time out of his busy schedule to analyze a joke taken out of context to make it seem racist. I love Puerto Rico and vacation there. I made fun of everyone. Watch the whole set. I'm a comedian, Tim. Might be time to change your tampon. As AOC and Tim Walz had this to say about the joke.
Who is that jackwad? Who is that guy?
Actually, I think that's Tony Hinchcliffe, which is super disappointing. I mean, I don't, he's a comedian. I don't follow
Trump, this
crew
issue
very
with Puerto
closely,
Rico
but
again. I saw it. This was when he went down after Helene, the horrific hurricane, people there, everybody coming together. We sent helicopters down from Minnesota and personnel. You know, this is how you do this during this. And in the first hours, Trump complaining about the response. Does anybody remember how he responded to Maria in Puerto Rico? It was absolutely horrific. Down there insulting people, throwing it. Look, I know that the folks who are on here today understand this. People in Puerto Rico are citizens. They pay taxes and they serve in the military at almost a higher rate than anybody else.
yeah, I mean, it's like super upsetting. Obviously, it's super upsetting to me. My family is from Puerto Rico. I'm Puerto Rican, and like the thing that is so
Jeez, if you're so triggered by a joke, you should really analyze how seriously you're taking everything, as that's just ridiculous. But the onslaught of attacks against Tony Hinchcliffe now are, of course, all being organized against him and this one particular joke. As Mike Cernovich has pointed out, that even the Biden-Harris DOJ, on behalf of the EPA, recently sued Puerto Rico for their trash and waste management corruption, as they are illegally dumping huge piles of trash, which makes Tony Hinchcliffe's joke here more accurate. And to me, absolutely doesn't deserve all the scrutiny he's facing because of it. As specifically, the U.S. government called for the end of disposing solid waste at its landfill to specifically address public health and environmental threats that were posed by the dangers of these outside conditions of the landfill, which were in violation of federal and Commonwealth solid waste laws. And adding to low effeminate beta boys who, of course, are offended by jokes, we, of course, have Bad Bunny here, that a lot of people allege also has connections to P. Diddy, that is now, according to CNN, showing his support for Kamala Harris because of Tony Hinchcliffe's joke. Yes, you heard that correctly. He's being offended by the joke so much that he's willing to vote for Kamala Harris. Yeah, as a lot of celebrity endorsements are backfiring and not working like they once did, and highlighting how the people aren't really falling for it. Yeah, it was a joke. If you get offended by it, you get butthurt by it, there's a problem with you, not the person trying to make you laugh. I personally laughed at that joke. I thought it was hilarious. As the corporate media has lost their absolute mind, they're not talking about facts. They're not talking about the reality of the situation. They're not talking about anything that is legitimately happening. They're literally making the same arguments that a lot of unhinged people have been making for the past 8 years. And now they are officially becoming the unhinged people that are losing more and more of their viewership. In my opinion, rightfully so. And if you agree, share this video with your friends and family members. We're going to be going back live 6 p.m. Eastern here on youtube.com/wearechanged. Stay tuned for more and call in by signing up to lukeunfiltered.com right now. I love you guys. Stay tuned for more.